You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck on Twitter. Here talking about the latest Auburn athletics news. As today, we will be discussing the 2025 football season and giving my 5 bold predictions for Auburn football during this upcoming season. Now, again, I've been very open about the I'm sorry, my fan is not on. I just realized that. I've been very open about how I feel about this upcoming season. I put that on too high. And how I think Auburn will finish 8-4 in the regular season. And I'm I'm willing to die on that hill. I've been dying on it the entire offseason since what we heard in the spring, what the team has looked like, what Hugh Freeze has been talking about, even though he has said that it's no secret that he knows he has some pressure on him, but it is comforting that he is not feeling the pressure going forward. So I want to give my 5 bold predictions for Auburn football this upcoming season. My first thing on the docket, Jackson Arnold is going to throw for 2,800 yards in 2025. So the last time an Auburn Tiger threw for over 2,500 yards was, of course, last year with Peyton Thorne. And, he was a game and a half really away from hitting 3,000 yards because you incorporate the Arkansas game as well as the New Mexico game. But Peyton Thorne would have been a 3,000-yard passer in this offense. And you bring in Jackson Arnold, a more talented quarterback with a better arm, and you're giving him the keys to the best wide receiver room in the SEC. You're bringing back Cam Coleman, who had a great freshman year. Perry Thompson, who has a chip on his shoulder to improve upon what we saw of him from last year. You bring in 2 of the top wide receiver transfers in Horatio Fields and Eric Singleton, and not to mention the amount of weapons you have alongside Malcolm Simmons and Sam Turner, and, of course, Bryce Kane leaving his redshirt year. So much talent in this wide receiver room that it's hard for me to say that a quarterback could not do well in this offense. And of course, with how good Jackson Arnold is perceived to be from his recruiting rankings to the highlights we saw of Oklahoma, if there's a way to hone the talent level that he can play at into this offense, Auburn's going to do great things with Jackson Arnold at the quarterback. And I think with how we saw Peyton Thorne last year, if he could even replicate Peyton Thorne's production, I think he can even add to that and get over the 2,800 yard. The most passing yards an Auburn quarterback has had in recent memory has, of course, been Jarrett Stidham, 3,100 yards in a season. And that was in a Gus Malzahn offense. But even like a guy like Nick Marshall hit 2,500 yards, Bo Nix 2019 at 2,500 yards. It's not impossible to happen. And I think the Jackson Arnold has that talent capabilities to get to that point. So first bold take is I think he can hit that. And Stephen Allen coming out of nowhere, 3,200 yards. That one might be a little crazy. That one, I don't know if I can fully agree with. That would be second all time in a single season for an Auburn Tiger. I mean, that's putting him like in the top 15 Auburn quarterbacks of all time passing the ball in a season. But number 2, right behind Damian Craig with 3277. So I can't bite on 3,000 yards, but I can bite on 2,800 yards. I can bite on that one. So second bold take, going to go over to the defensive side of the football. It almost happened last year, but people started double teaming them. But with a lot of talent coming into the defensive line, I'm going to say Keldrick Falk breaks Nick Fairley's sacks in a season record. Of course, he hit 12 in 2010. Of course, Nick Fairley was a first-round draft pick. He won every defensive award you could have possibly won at the defensive tackle in that miraculous 2010 season. And then since then, you had Dee Ford get 11 in 2013. You had Jeff Holland hit 10 in 2017. And Keldrick Falk almost hit it this past season. I think with him having, I don't want to say he has a chip on his shoulder. I don't want to say that at all. But with the a top 10 draft pick on the line. I think you're going to see the best version of Keldrick Falk that you've seen thus far. And I have been on record to say I think this Auburn defense is good enough to finish top 5 in the SEC. And I think a lot of that's going to come down to Keldrick Falk and how great he is and how he can continue to build on his Auburn legacy. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's going to be an all-timer when it's all said and done. If he were to stay for his senior year, I mean, you're looking at a guy who could be at the top of the career sacks record, not just a single sacks record, a career sacks record. So I think Keldrick has definitely earned the hype that he has been getting going into the season, because I think he is going to break some records that, I would say I've been waiting for an Auburn Tiger to break any record for a while. I don't know when the last time an Auburn Tiger broke a record was. But I think Keldrick Falk is that good, and he's going to make an NFL team so very happy whenever he goes to the league next year, or if he wants to do us all a favor and stay another year, up that NIL, the NIL paycheck, and keep him here for another year, and you will see even better things from Keldrick Falk. But yeah, definitely. I don't want to say my boldest take, but I would definitely say there's probably more out there, because I think 12 sacks is very hard to get whenever you have a defensive line that's going to be as good as Auburn's looks to be going into the season. But I'm putting all my chips on a Keldrick Falk getting that record. Now, going back over to the offense for a second, and kind of building off of Jackson Arnold being a superb looking passer in a sense, 2,800 yards. I think this hurts the run game, and I'm going to say Auburn will not have a 1,000-yard rusher in 2025. I know I don't think this comes from the offense being able to pass the ball a lot more because of the wide receiver room. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the fact you have a stable of running backs, let alone a workhorse back. You don't have one of those going into this season. I know I've kind of called Damari before, but I think Damari is going to be the RB1 and not really the workhorse guy. He's going to be the guy who gets the most carries out of 3 running backs that are going through the field a fair share of times. Jeremiah Cobb is too talented to keep off the field. He's too fast. He's too quick. He's too agile. Too good of a playmaker in open space. Darrell Robinson, same thing with him. You're going to have to give all 3 of these guys the ball, and I think that hurts Auburn's mentality towards running the ball. I mean, you're looking at Jarquez Hunter trying to start back up the trend of 1,000-yard rushers that Auburn had from like 2007 to 2016, where Auburn had 1,000-yard rusher every single one of those seasons before Boobie Whitlow broke that streak. And then Tank Bigsby got it. Jarquez Hunter got it. There was a gap year in that. But I don't think the running backs are going to get enough carries, like alone. A singular running back is not getting enough carries to get that 1,000-yard mark. I think there's going to be too much of a focus on a balanced attack, and a lot of that balance is going to might be an overbalance to the passing game. I think you're going to rely heavily on the talent you've recruited at the wide receiver position. So I don't think Auburn hits 1,000-yard rushing this year. They might hit it as a team, but not one guy's going to hit it. I would even say you might have Damari hit like 800 yards, and then Jeremiah Cobb's going to get like 400. Then Darrell Robinson might get himself 400, 300 too. You might get a lot of rushing yards as a team, but I don't think you're going to get one out of one lone back. And I think that kind of, I don't want to say it bodes well for the offense, but I think it looks better in terms of how the passing offense will look going forward. So yeah, no 1,000-yard rusher for Auburn this season. I need to have at least one negative one out of my bold predictions, and I will take that one just to say Auburn will have a good passing game this upcoming season. Number 4 on my list, Alex McPherson, returning back to the fray. I have him winning SEC Special Teams Player of the Year. So last year is, of course, a year to forget if you're a special teams fan like myself. Auburn was one of the worst teams in terms of field goal percentage. You had 3 different guys kick the football in 2024, with Towns Magoo taking the bulk of that. Of course, Ian Vachon getting at the end of the season. You let Alex McPherson get in there for 2 kicks in the Kentucky game, finished 50% on the season. Doesn't look well on his box score, on a stat record, but still 90% field goal percentage over his career as an Auburn Tiger. And I am fully on board with Alex McPherson having an absolute tear of a season. I think he is going to have his best season yet. And whether or not that's because the offense can't score or whatever it is, but I think Alex McPherson being as good as he is, it's hard not to feel confident no matter where you are whenever you're in plus territory. I think Alex McPherson is going to do great things in the NFL in a few years whenever he goes, but I think he is I don't think he's on pace right now to beat like Daniel Carlson's scoring record. But I think whenever you go into this season, it's hard not to think Alex McPherson is the best kicker in the SEC because of what he has done thus far. Of course, he probably won't get that recognition because he didn't play a lot last year because of off the field health issues. But with this season being his redemption, I don't say redemption season, but his comeback season, I think it's looking to be his best season yet. He kicked like he almost kicked a 60-yarder. I think he did kick one at practice, but he almost kicked one at A-Day. And he continues to build on his health and get better and get better and get back to full capacity. I think you're looking at an all-time season for an Auburn kicker after whatever last year was. I think Alex McPherson has the potential to be one of the best ever in Auburn football history, and that's not a phrase I'll take lightly because I was Daniel Carlson was my kicker growing up. I know there was Wes Byer kicked that one of the national championship, Cody Parkey after that, but Daniel Carlson is the one I will always like relish on because he is again probably the best kicker I have ever seen in college football. And of course, I've only been watching college football for about 20 years, so. Alex McPherson has all the tools capable to be right up there in that like Mount Rushmore of Auburn kickers. So yeah, I think Alex McPherson, of course, if a Kentucky guy can win an SEC award, Alex McPherson could win too, if you ask me. But yeah, Alex McPherson, SEC Special Teams Player of the Year in 2025. Now, my last one is I said my coach for breaking the record might be the biggest like stretch, but this one might get me some angry comments from another fan base. I will not identify the fan base because if I say their names too many times, they will appear. And I live off of Beetlejuice rules when it comes to this fan base. In 2025, in the glorious year of 2025, my boldest take possibly, I don't know if it is or not, but could be my boldest take. I think for the first time since 2019, your Auburn Tigers are going to win the Iron Bowl. And I think I said this about Auburn hitting 1,000 yards, having a 1,000-yard receiver, and it's like they're kind of due for one. Auburn is due for an Iron Bowl win. Of course, coaches have been fired for their inability to win the Iron Bowl in previous years. And I don't want to live up to that's like the number one thing you have to do as an Auburn Tiger, as an Auburn football coach. But it is one of the things. Bama fans don't want to admit it either. But if a Bama coach is not beating Auburn consistently, they're on the hot seat. And that's just kind of how they think. But I definitely think going into this year, Auburn's got the talent. Auburn's got the chip on their shoulder. It's in Jordan-Hare. You're going to have a full stadium full of Auburn Tigers. You got your double jumbotrons going on. I think Alabama is going to walk into Jordan-Hare Stadium and lose to Auburn for the first time in a long time. And again, I don't. There's not like too much analysis to go into this. It's kind of just like a gut feeling. Auburn has not. Again, 2019, the last time Auburn won the national championship, won an Iron Bowl. You go into like the 2020 year, it was close. 2021, you had 4 overtimes. 22, you were there until you weren't. 23, you were there until one freak accident play. You had it in the bag, and then a stupid muffed punt turned 4th and 31 stupid play. Then last year you lost by 2 touchdowns because your defense was forcing turnovers, but the offense could not score. And with how hyped I've been about this defense, I think you can see the same results defensively with how good the offense is perceived to be, with how good the offense can be with the wide receiver rooms, with the talent built around Jackson Arnold that, it's hard to imagine him not having a good season at the bare minimum because of the talent he has around him. I think you're going into this season and you've been close 2 years in a row. and I can, yeah, you've been close 2 years in a row. And I'm not saying you're going to beat Georgia. Georgia is a bit of more of a stretch because I think there's an actual like curse built around the Auburn Georgia game because Auburn has not beaten Georgia since 2017. And then they lost that championship that same year. So it's like that almost doesn't count because it's like a net zero thing going on there. I think with Alabama coming into Tuscaloosa, second year of the DeBoer era, and I'm not high on Kalen DeBoer. I've said that on several occasions. I think he's going to be ranked high on like SEC coaches list because, of course, he coaches Alabama. It's hard to do terrible at Bama with the establishment that was built by Nick Saban. But there was obvious flaws going on Bama's team last year that was exploited by other teams. Bama goes 9-3. That's not something that would have happened if Nick Saban had that roster. So you go into that year and you're looking at a good year for Auburn. And say Auburn goes in that game, and if I'm saying they're 8-4, they're 7-4 going into that game. I think that bodes well. I think a lot. Whenever Auburn has an opportunity, like 8 wins or more, they always beat Alabama. But I think that everything is working out in the same and like the correct way for Auburn to get a much needed win over their biggest rival in the best rivalry in college sports. I think in 2025, your Auburn Tigers are going to walk out of Jordan-Hare Stadium on the last game of the season on senior night as Iron Bowl champs. The senior class will be the first class in a while to beat Alabama. I think there have been, 2 or 3 classes that have gone through Auburn and never saw an Iron Bowl win. I think that changes this year. I think that gets fixed in year 3 of the Hugh Freeze era. And hopefully they don't bite too hard on it. And, last time the Auburn coach beat Alabama, they the athletic department decided to throw out a lot of money because I think last year, 2017 would have been the last contract year for Gus Malzahn, but that they gave him one. But I think last year would have been the last year of Gus Malzahn's contract, and you're still paying him up to that point. So those are my bold predictions for this upcoming season. Stephen Allen, you said I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right too, Stephen. It's like we're due. I know, like in the journalism industry, not supposed to be too biased here, but I bleed orange and blue fully. Auburn football is due for an Iron Bowl win. Auburn basketball's been doing it. Auburn softball's been doing it. Auburn baseball's been doing it. Auburn football's got to catch up with the rest of the athletic programs. It's got to happen. It's got to happen, and it's got to happen soon because you got there. You had them in year 1. You had him on the fence. You would have beaten Nick Saban in his last Iron Bowl if you would have caught a punt and if you would have blitzed Jalen Milroe, which is not really on Hugh Freeze. That's really on the special teams coach for not teaching Coy Moore how to catch a ball. And, of course, Ron Roberts for not calling a blitz whenever you had like 4 or 5 sacks that game. And last year, of course, don't even start. That game annoyed me probably more than anything because you were doing everything right defensively and the offense just wasn't doing anything. So I can blame last year's on Hugh Freeze, definitely. But mismanagement cannot happen in year 3. A lot of pressure, especially from the fan base, probably from the athletic department too. You got to start winning football games in year 3. No matter where you're at, if you're not winning by year 3, you're in trouble. I mean, what was last year 3 for Clark Lee? I don't even remember Clark Lee's. He's been there. I think he got hired the same year as Brian Harsin, I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, for year 4. Started seeing progress in year 4, which he had some progress in year 2, which pattern-wise does not bode well for him because he went 2-10 in year 1, 5-7 year 2, 2-10 year 3, 7-6 year 4. So 2026, good year for Vanderbilt. I think 2025 might be another 2-10 season if patterns work here. Maybe 9 wins because it goes up every 2 years, or every 2 wins a year. But that's pretty much it for my bold predictions. Let me know what your bold predictions are in the comment section below. Going to quick little break. Let's have this break. Talk about Auburn softball and how their season ended and the future of what the softball team looks like, because Auburn baseball is still going on, still going strong, because they are I'll get to it when we get back from the break. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Available on thewarreport.com. Go check out the shop, and you can find your college loop merch and show the world that you are feeling loopy too about Auburn athletics. Of course, the merch is the only way to support the channel. The best way to support the channel is, of course, by liking this video, commenting your bold predictions for Auburn football in 2025, and, of course, by subscribing to the channel. Again, so close to 1,000 subscribers. It'd be super cool to reach that milestone as we get closer to football season. Now, to go on with the remainder of Auburn athletics that's going on right now. Auburn golf continuing to do well. Auburn softball, on the other hand, season ended today, actually. So, of course, SEC tournament came and gone. Auburn lost in the first round to Bama, but then they got a regional, went to Tallahassee, lost in game 1, 12-7 to South Florida, but then went on a tear and destroyed Robert Morris, 11-3 to continue to stay alive. Then beat USF in a revenge game, beat them 7-5, eliminating them. And then backs against the wall against number 5, Florida State, beat them 8-3 in game 1 today. But with everything on the line for both teams, Florida State is the better team and took down the Auburn Tigers 4-0 to end the softball season later than expected. I can't lie. Auburn softball in the first year of the Malvos, with all these the seniors that stuck through it, overachieved, and super stoked for the remainder of the Malvos era here on the Plains. I think you're going to see even better and brighter things than what you saw from the previous administration at Auburn softball. You just keep attacking the portal, keep recruiting high schoolers that are here to build a program from the ground up. War Eagle Trevor to this as well. I think Auburn softball has so bright a future going forward because of the groundwork that was done in year 1. I mean, basically you were given a regional because of how you started off the season. I mean, you're looking at a 15-0 start to the year before you got hit by Louisiana Tech, and then you still won like the next 6-7 games in a row. You had like a 27-1 record before you got to SEC play, and then after that you only won like 8 more games after that. But regardless, I think that you showed promise. The SEC is the toughest conference in every single sport, and you ended out the year so well. You beat Kentucky, you beat Georgia, you lost to Tennessee, but then you beat South Carolina to round out the SEC slate. You were the lowest ranked seed in the SEC tournament, but again, that's not saying much if you still got a regional. That's just how good the SEC is, and they're going to continue to get better, and they're going to continue to improve on what we saw this year. And this is the worst year of the Malvos during their tenure at Auburn. Then we are in very good hands going forward. So super stoked for Auburn softball, super proud of what they were able to achieve this season, especially again, it was a shocker to me that they started off with like they did. It was a shocker to me they even got to a regional. If you would have told me last year that Auburn softball was going to have a new coach and basically have to restructure an entire team together under new schemes and leadership, that they were going to go to NCAA regional, I would not have believed you. But yeah, super proud of what they were able to achieve in year 1. Now, Auburn baseball, on the other hand, having a awesome season. Of course, I believe like number 2 in the country, but apparently that's not good enough for number 2 in the SEC. So they're going to be the number 6 seed in the SEC tournament, despite being the hottest team in baseball right now, which I find that absolutely crazy to believe how the standings are working out. Of course, Texas got the number 1 seed because they won the SEC championship. But Auburn will be waiting until Tuesday at 8 o'clock to see who wins between Texas A&M and Mississippi State and play the winner of that before hopefully going on to play LSU which Auburn, of course, did sweep LSU earlier this year. So, I mean, just go ahead and move Auburn on down. If they continue to play like they do, I think Auburn baseball definitely could win the whole thing. Of course, Auburn doesn't have the best track record in recent memory when it comes to winning in Hoover, but if they win, I mean, they're already hosting. It's already pretty much predicted they're going to host a regional. I think that's no secret to anybody that Auburn baseball will be hosting a regional in the postseason. And prediction, they're going to go to Omaha. Knock on wood, just in case. But yeah, super stoked for all Auburn spring sports. All of them on a high note right now. Auburn basketball recruiting very well. Auburn women's basketball recruiting very well with Coach Vickers in charge. Auburn baseball leading the charge for a regional. Auburn softball making it to a regional. And Auburn golf, of course, showing that PGA Tour who? No, that's Auburn golf. So thank you all for tuning in. This is of the College Loop podcast. I want to thank everybody who joined the conversation. Of course, you can find me right here on the College Loop podcast. But also, you can find me on Twitter at @YABOY, at YABOY the Tank. Instagram as well at Dylanlarck, DYLNLARCK. And of course, right here at the College Loop podcast on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, the works. All those at the College Loop. Subscribe to the channel. Get us to 1,000 subscribers. Have a giveaway planned for that. So stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly with more College Loop on Tuesday. Of course, check out the audio version of the show as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And officially, with all that being said, thanks for watching. And as always, War Eagle.